The film opens in a beautiful residential area where this family seems like the ideal picture of success. The husband's name is Don, and his beautiful wife is Mona. But inside this household, Mona rules everything with her domineering personality, and whatever she says has to be obeyed. Their marriage is stiff and emotionally distant, and Don has spent years trying to be intimate with her, but Mona constantly rejects him. She's obsessed with planning every detail of their lives, including scheduling the exact moments when they're allowed to be intimate. Don finds a new spark in his life, a woman named Dusty who shows up at his office. She's the new co-worker, and she's basically his dream woman. Just seeing her lights a fire in him, and he can feel himself being pulled into something dangerous. On top of that, Don's co-worker and neighbor, Les, makes it very clear he's happy about Dusty's presence. He jokes that they need something nice to look at to distract themselves from their stressful marriages. Meanwhile, we see a man who appears to have just finished killing someone. After the murder, he watches a TV commercial for Don's furniture store that happens to be playing. We soon learn that this man, along with his gang, has started tracking Don and Mona, keeping an eye on their movements and daily routines. Don, completely unaware of this, continues to drag himself through his dull, tense life with his wife. Eventually, Don reaches a breaking point and ends up having an affair with Dusty. From this moment on, their relationship becomes more serious and physically intimate. As their affair grows, Don's relationship with Mona becomes even colder and more lifeless than it already was. At first, everything seems to go smoothly for Don. He manages to keep the affair hidden from Mona. That changes the night Don's family hosts a party. In the middle of the celebration, Dusty pulls Don aside and delivers some terrible news. She's pregnant. Don is completely shocked by this, especially because Dusty has supposedly been taking birth control pills. She refuses to have an abortion, explaining that she really wants to have a child. Panicking, Don goes to see Les and asks him for advice about Dusty's pregnancy. As many people would, Les suggests that Don give Dusty some money in exchange for her silence and for her to disappear from his life. Les believes that women like Dusty are classic gold diggers, prone to blackmailing well-off men like Don for money. What Les says turns out to be accurate, because we soon find out that Dusty is actually the girlfriend of a gangster named Murphy, the same man we saw earlier. Murphy uses Dusty to lure wealthy or stable men into relationships, so that they can later squeeze them for cash. However, this time Dusty really seems to like the man she's targeting. Still, Don decides to follow Les's advice and ends up giving Dusty $13,000. He begs her to end their relationship and promises her the money in exchange for never seeing him again. Dusty refuses, feeling insulted and saying she's being treated like a prostitute. At this point, Don is terrified that his mistake will destroy his entire family. The situation gets even worse when the blackmail doesn't stop there. The $13,000 is not enough for Murphy, so he orders Dusty to go back and demand more money from Don, this time asking for a much larger amount, $25,000. The problem is that Don is completely out of money and has no idea how to deal with Dusty's continued threats and demands. With no other way out, Don finally decides to take a huge risk and tell Mona the truth about everything he has done. Surprisingly, Mona stays relatively calm and reacts in a way Don did not expect. Instead of screaming, she first asks him if he still loves her. Don answers that he loves her and their children very much, and would do anything to fix his mistake. However, things are not going to be that simple. Don still has to face Mona's fury as she starts reminding him of everything she's done for him, and all the opportunities she and her parents have given him over the years. This is the moment when Mona reveals a much darker side of herself by ordering Don to kill Dusty, so that she'll stop extorting money from him. Mona declares that anyone who threatens the unity of her family will die by her hands. Soon after, Dusty asks Don for the $20,000 in cash that Murphy now wants. At this point, Mona gives Don two choices. Either he divorces her, which means losing his wife and kids, or he follows her instructions and kills Dusty. Don is torn and starts wondering how he could possibly bring himself to murder someone. The next day, Mona continues to pressure her husband to go through with the killing before Dusty arrives at the office that night to collect the money. She even prepares a strong dose of drugs to use to finish Dusty off. Mona is furious at Don's hesitation and tells him to stop being afraid. With no real choice left, Don reluctantly agrees to go along with Mona's plan and begins to think of how to put it into action. Later that day, Dusty shows up at the store and Don welcomes her by offering her a drink that he has secretly laced with the drug. As Dusty drinks it, she starts to feel strange and notices that Don is acting oddly. It doesn't take long for her to realize that she's been drugged, and she collapses as the substance begins to take effect in her body. That's when Mona appears and instructs Don to put Dusty into the trunk of the car. When they arrive home, Don is still paralyzed with fear and can't bring himself to start the next part of the plan. He's even more shocked when he sees that Dusty is still alive. Mona, however, laughs at this and tells Don to go get a hammer. Don hands the hammer to her, but instead of doing it herself, Mona orders Don to finish Dusty as a way to correct his mistake. Don, shaking with fear, says he truly isn't capable of doing it, so Mona orders him to open the trunk and lets her handle it instead. After she's done, Dusty's body is taken into the garage where Mona begins to dismember her with her own hands. Don can't stand watching any of this and runs to the bathroom where he vomits and mentally gives up, surrendering himself to whatever happens next. Meanwhile, Murphy is growing more and more suspicious because Dusty has been missing for several days without contacting him. The next day, when Don comes home from work, he panics when he sees Murphy talking to his son outside their house. It turns out that Murphy has tracked Don down and tells Don they need to meet because he wants answers about Dusty's disappearance. At this point, Don still manages to lie, telling Murphy that he gave Dusty the money and that he has no idea where she went after that. Since Dusty hasn't returned with the money, Murphy pushes the responsibility onto Don and demands $20,000 by the next day, threatening to harm Don's wife and children if he doesn't pay. After this meeting, Mona tells Don that they need to dig Dusty up again and go to Dusty's place, where the gangsters live. She has come up with a plan to deal with Murphy and his men on the same night Don is supposed to meet Murphy again at the club. Once they arrive in front of the house, Mona breaks in, knowing the gang is not there yet because they are still out. Inside, she opens the refrigerator and places something inside it, Dusty's body parts, including her severed head from when Mona beheaded her earlier. Not long after that, one of the gang members returns home with a woman, and Mona quickly kills them both using a kitchen knife she finds there. After Mona leaves the house, the man who is still barely alive manages to call Murphy and tell him what happened. At the same time, Mona takes a burner phone and calls the police, reporting a disturbance coming from Murphy's house. As soon as Murphy hears this, he rushes home only to be horrified by the chaos Mona has left behind. He also discovers Dusty's remains in the refrigerator. With that, Murphy realizes he has been set up, and all the evidence of the murder now points directly at him. At the same time, the police arrive and storm the place. One of Murphy's men is shot dead by the officers, but Murphy himself manages to escape through a hidden door leading under the house. One night, Don, who is now deeply disturbed by everything his wife has done, tries to ask Mona about her past. He wonders if maybe she went through something traumatic as a child that could explain why she behaves this way now. But when Don brings it up, Mona reacts in an unexpected and explosive way. She becomes very emotional and insists that her parents are perfect and have never hurt her. She then swears that if Don ever dares to ask that question again, she will murder him and chop him up the same way she did Dusty. After that, Don is forced to live in constant fear and anxiety, haunted by Mona's threats. Her madness only escalates. The following day, the police visit Don's house and inform him that his employee Dusty has been found dead. They tell him they have managed to arrest the culprit, but that one of the suspects is still on the run. However, that is not the main reason for their visit. The main issue is that someone reported seeing Don at Dusty's cabin. With no other option, Don finally confesses to the officers that he was having an affair with Dusty and that her boyfriend had blackmailed him into paying money so Mona wouldn't find out. The cop seems to understand Don's situation and even makes a sarcastic remark that he doesn't want to find another dead body if Mona discovers everything. During that same conversation, the neighbor's dog suddenly wanders into the garage, which immediately irritates Mona. She angrily warns the neighbors what she will do if she ever catches the dog on their property again. Later, during Andrew's birthday celebration, Dawn discovers something horrifying. The neighbor's dog has been killed and stuffed into their refrigerator. This is freaking crazy. Meanwhile, Mona notices her son is making a fool of himself at the party. She gets angry and claims the competition is unfair, accusing Les's big son of taking steroids. Dawn also sees her insulting the boy's mother, who has a blood disease, and Mona cruelly wishes she'd shit herself to death. When Allison notices that her brother is having a hard time, she grabs the stick and smashes the unicorn piñata until it's completely destroyed. It's obvious that Allison is Mona's favorite child, and Mona always treats her better than Andrew. Watching how his son is treated makes Don feel heartbroken, and he starts to believe that in the future, his daughter Allison will grow more and more like Mona. Finally, Don decides that he has had enough, and that it is time to put an end to his wife's insanity. He cuts the power to the garage light in order to create a faulty connection that will cause a spark when the switch is flipped. After testing it, he opens the gas cylinder valve so the gas can slowly leak out and fill the garage. He then casually asks his wife to go out to the garage fridge and get him some beef, while he pretends he's going to check the grill. As Mona makes her way to the garage, Don quickly walks away, acting like nothing is wrong. Meanwhile, Mona enters the garage and flips the light switch. The electrical spark ignites the gas-filled room, causing a massive explosion that kills Mona instantly. When everything is over, Don moves into a new house and begins enjoying the assets his wife left behind. He and his children now live happily without Mona's endless rules and without the constant fear of being killed by her. But the movie still isn't finished, because the police never managed to catch Murphy, the man who escaped from the house earlier. In the final scenes, we see Murphy following Don's car from behind, and the film ends during the credits with the sound of 2 gunshots, strongly implying that Murphy has finally shot Don.